Why? Huh? Sorry? To know the norms. Okay. Then to study constitution. Okay. Then what else? Should you study the constitution then? Really, Naveen, why should you study Indian polity? Or why should you study the Indian constitution? What is the reason? I think online students can also reply. To be a better citizen? To know the constitution? No. It is because one of the highest weightage in your examinations is from Indian polity. And we'll always, keep our, classes on track. And remember one thing, you have only come here to clear the examination. What I mean, by saying this is, so stick to syllabus for the next 1.5 years or 2 years, in this marathon, clear the exam, come out of it. That is the only goal that you should have for the next, 10 or 12 months. Okay, so studying Indian polity is because it has one of the highest weightage, and obviously also as a good citizen, you should know what is the constitution. Okay, anyway, what to study? What to study? From where to study? Right? Do you have an idea? So the first thing itself, I'll tell you one small homework after going home. Please, or I think, even in the orientations, I would have told you, please read the syllabus thoroughly, by heart it, or take a printout of it, stick it next to your table, read the syllabus, plus do the previous year question papers. Okay, when you're doing polity, before starting the syllabus or before reading, try to glance through it. Gottilla andre tale kattukollo avashyakate illa. Onsari nodi, you will come to know what to study and what not to study. Okay. Anyway, before starting the class, in today's class, I'll not directly start with your syllabus. We'll have we'll cover some basic concepts which are there in your NCERTs. At the end, we'll talk about the resources. Yav book anta. I think sir also told me that you'll be getting we have institutions material that will be given to you. So only basic things I'll be dictating, like running notes. You can take it down. Okay, so we'll start directly with some basics. Okay. So the first question to all of you: what is democracy? What is a democracy? You'll answer my day. You know it, right? What is democracy? Democracy andre no. Sorry? Okay, by the people. Okay. There are elections in it. Very good. So first thing, okay, we can add the page. Okay. Okay, someone told you there are elections. Then what is a democracy? There can be elections in a non-democratic form of governments also, but election is a part of democracy. Then, sorry, freedom. Very good. There is freedom. So do you think there was no freedom before democracy? Only after democracy came, we have freedom. Okay. Anyway, good answer. Freedom. Then, okay. It is a republic. What do you mean by a republic? So there is an elected head. Okay. Elected head. Okay. So Britain has a monarchical head. Queen is the head of England. So do you think that's not a democracy? Okay. Then what else? I asked you what is democracy, but you're telling me the features of democracy. Anyway, you can come up with some other answers. Online students also. Power exercised by the people. Very good. Power exercised by the people. So are you exercising your power every day? You're building the roads. Are you constructing the hospitals? Through our representatives. Very good. What else? So basically, what is democracy? It is form of government where we elect our representatives through whom we get our works done. This is the basic thing about democracy. Why do we need a democracy? Why do we need a democracy? Okay, then Iran is not democratic, but it is building a nuclear weapon. North Korea is also not, democratic. So don't you think works are being done there? So very good. So why do we need a democracy? Is because, according to her, there is a established way of getting things done. Getting things done andre making our laws, getting it executed. There is a proper judiciary, there is a mechanism to it. Very good. Then, why else do we need democracy? Very good. So for the economic development anta helaboda, for better economic development. Why better economic development? Because in democracy, one of the core aspect of democracy is there is accountability. Correct alva? Was the East India Company accountable? No. That is why, in the 1700s, India was one of the, in today's terms, one of the top GDPs in the world. But where did we come in 1947? Right? Because, the allocation of resources was not at all accountable. Okay, it might be, accountable to a British Parliament, but people of India did not know anything about this. So accountability is one of the core things about democracy. Okay. Why else do we need democracy? Did people of India enjoy freedom of speech and expression in a British rule? So why just blame the British? Did we enjoy, freedom of speech and expression in a Nizam's rule in Hyderabad? Or, some other despotic rules like Aurangzeb? No, not just the British. So democracy has, improved the dignity of people, the dignity of citizens. So you have freedom of speech and expression. This is one more core aspect of democracy. Alva, what else? Why do we need democracy then? Sorry? Okay, we'll put it here only. It ensures equality. Very good. What else? The online students, answer Madi. So many of you are there. Madam, answer Madi. Let us keep it very interactive. This, the first class, don't worry about anything, even if you're wrong. E class basically to understand a few things, which will be helpful for you from tomorrow. Some terms that you don't know. I asked. Why else do you need a democracy? Imagine you're living in a, British era. You're being charged every day. You're being jailed. So why do you need a democracy? You have written that because democracy is accountable, you need a democracy. Because there is freedom of expression, there is a democracy. You had given an answer just before this. What was it? Yeah, to fulfill the aspirations of the citizens, to fulfill our economic ambitions, to fulfill our social and political ambitions, we require a democracy. Now tell me, why there should be no democracy? What are the disadvantages of a democracy? Okay. Okay. Misuse of power. Very good. There can be misuse of power. Amale. So, just travel across Bangalore. There are, hundreds of potholes. You go to a government office. You, want a caste certificate. Will it be done, immediately? There is a government decision that has to be taken on some project, some highway project. Will it happen in a week? Not possible. Why? Because in a democracy, the decision has to come through a proper channelized, procedure. Okay, one of the major loopholes of a democracy is, there is delay in works. Because of the procedural aspects, there is delay in works. So one disadvantage of democracy. Then, sorry, it is rigid. Is democracy rigid? In the way, in the sense, I didn't get it. Okay, yeah, the same thing. What else? In a democracy, that you don't like. The masses elect people. How is it happening in India? On what basis the elections are happening? Do we elected, is there a procedure to elect a person who is educated? Or, on what basis do you elect? The masses elect based on their, caste or religion or whatever we want. So there are chances that, I'm not telling that it will happen. There are chances that there can be non-qualified, people who are coming and sitting there. Correct, alva? So these are some of the aspects that in a democracy is, is being criticized today. Okay. In India, what kind of a democracy do we have? Sorry? What form of a government do we have? We have elections. We have freedom of speech and expression. Even in America, there is a president. Even there is judiciary. Even here we have. But what kind of a government do we have in India? Sorry? Indirect. Okay. You last bench answer madi. What kind of a government do we have in India? A parliamentary democracy in the Korean. So to understand this, we will see we'll take the example of America and India. Okay. So we have a prime minister. Do you elect your prime minister? You elect him? Then how is he elected? Narendra Modi, your prime minister, who elected him as the prime minister of India? The parliament. Vote ಹಾಕಿದ್ರಿ ಅಲ್ವೆಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ನೂ vote ಹಾಕಿಲ್ವಾ ಎಲ್ಲ 2K kids ಅನೇವೆಲ್ಲ ಜೆನ್ಸಿ recent election ಇತ್ತಲ್ವಾ you voted right then ಯಾರು vote ಹಾಕಿದ್ರಿ you did not vote to Narendra Modi or Rahul Gandhi or someone else. Whom did you vote? You voted an MLA. Huh? ನೋಡಿ ಎಷ್ಟಿಂದ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ as citizens you don't know whom you voted anyway. So anyway, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ we'll have a small this thing. So there is a assembly, state legislative assembly in each state. There is a parliament in India that we have. So basically, if you have to have a Lok Sabha election or the parliamentary election, you will be electing an MP. So there are around 543 MPs. Otherly, there should be a party that should get a majority. If not majority, a coalition government will be formed. And one of the persons there who has the highest number of support in the parliament will be the prime minister. What about America? What about America? Sir, India ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ in America ಕೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ. So what about America? Trump is the president, right? So how is he elected? He's elected directly. Very good. How the elections happens in America? ಅಲ್ಲಿ election ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. Like how we have Lok Sabha election. In America, if there is an election ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ presidential election. ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕಡೆ they elect their electors. Like how we elect our MPs, they elect their electors. They will choose a president. ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅವ್ರ ಕತೆ ಮುಗೀತು. They will not have a 5-year or 4-year tenure there. Like how our MPs have a 5 years tenure in the parliament, they don't have a tenure. President election ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅವ್ರ ಮನೆಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. Because they have a separate legislature where they will choose representatives there. ಅಂದ್ರೆ president ನ elect ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ they elected directly to the president. They voted to Trump. But in each constituency there were electors ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರು vote ಹಾಕಿದ್ರು. They chose Trump. And they will go home. Okay, you can ask me, sir, then what about who make laws anta? This executive is different. Idu bittu there is a legislature. People vote there. They send the legislators there also. But India alli atara alla. What we do, naven ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ? We vote in a MP election. We elect the MPs, send them to a parliament or a legislature. So we have MPs. We send them to a parliament. There are so many people there, around 543 people. So you should have the majority of this membership. So basically, these are our legislators, whom we are sending them to parliament. Illi obbanna ನಾವು we will make him as the prime minister, who is the executive. Correct alva? But America dalli enayitu? What happened in America? Even they have a legislature, they also have a president. People go there through elections, they make laws, but here also the president is elected, but directly. So the core aspect of a parliamentary form of government ಏನು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, it is the coordination that is existing between legislature and the executive. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? ಅರ್ಥ ವೆರಿ ಈಸಿ, ವೆರಿ ಸಿಂಪಲ್. So parliamentary form of government, and what is the basic aspect of it? The legislature and executive go hand in hand. Narendra Modi is not just the Prime Minister of India, he is an MP. Correct alva? Yav kshetrakke MP? Which constituency? Okay, good. Samrin is answering. Varun has given a good answer about democracy, to protect our rights. Nice. Okay. Varanasi. Anyway, so in a parliamentary form of government, the executive is also a member of the legislature. Do you think Trump is a part of the legislature? No, he is just the executive. So parliamentary form of the government, Andre, this is the core aspect of it, where the legislature and the executive are coordinating with each other. In a presidential form of government, there is a strict segregation between the two. Artha agtidya? So this is the difference between a presidential form of government and a parliamentary form of government. Okay, which do you think is good? Presidential or parliamentary form of government? Both? We'll write few points, then we'll continue. Okay, this is just for your reference aste. You daily mane hogi revise ಮಾಡಿ, then come to the next class. You have one more class today or only one class? Madhe tumba time irutte, you can study. Okay, I think in the first class, in the orientation class, sir has given you the strategies to prepare your own timetables. Madidara ilva? We will we'll discuss, or after the class you can talk to me. Basically, every day the first thing that you have to do after starting your preparation is to read your newspaper. Syllabus odi, but I'm giving you a daily things to do or list to do. So read a newspaper. Generally Hindu you have to read. Then come to the class. First of all, wake up early in the morning. I thought that is the best thing where you can do. Try to finish the newspaper or anything else, any constructive work. Come to the class. After the class, go home, revise this, and then come tomorrow. Are you understanding? You won't remember everything. So revise and come to the next class. Okay? Anyway, write down. Democracy. What is democracy? What is democracy? A form of government. A form of government. A form of government where the representatives, merits of democracy or advantages of democracy. I think we have written it, alva? Accountability. One, accountability. Two, improved decision making. Three, equality. 4, dignity of citizens. Dignity of citizens. Economic development. Okay. Next, demerits or disadvantages of democracy. So all these things are there in your NCERT. Okay. These words, these sentences, these words in prelims al tumba keltidare. That is why, I'm picking things from NCERT. Aita? First one, slow decision making. Two, corruption or inefficiency. Corruption or inefficiency. Three, in a democracy, write it as a sentence. In a democracy, there is dominance of majority. There is dominance of majority. Bracket alli. It can lead to marginalizing the minorities. Marginalizing the minorities. Okay, parliamentary form of government. Parliamentary democracy or parliamentary form of government. Write down. In a parliamentary form of government. In a parliamentary form of government, the basic principle is the coordination between which two organs? Executive and legislature. While in a presidential form of government, the principle or the core principle is separation or segregation of legislature and executive. Yeah, please.
Compare the study with USA, UK, other countries.
So, ಏನಪ್ಪ ಏನ್ ಡೌಟು ಬ್ರದರ್? ಏನ್ ಡೌಟ್ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಸಾರಿ, ನಂಗೆ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಹೇಳೋದು. ನಾನೇ ಬರ್ತೀನಿ. ಹಾ, ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ? ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಕೆಡ್ಸ್ಕೊಬಿಡಿ, ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಓಕೆ, ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ? ಡೋಂಟ್ ವರಿ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ನಾ ಏನ್ ಇವತ್ತು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಲ್ಲ, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ವೆರಿ ಬೇಸಿಕ್. ಓಕೆ, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ವೆರಿ ಬೇಸಿಕ್. ಸೊ ಡೋಂಟ್ ವರಿ. ಕೇಳಿ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೇಳಿ, ಏನ್ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೇಳಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಶಿ ಆಸ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಸಂಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನ್ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರು ಕೇಳಿ, ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಶಿ ಆಸ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್. ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು ಅವ್ರ ಕ್ವಶನ್? ಸೊ ವೈ ಶುಡ್ ಯು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಆಲ್ ದೀಸ್ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ವೈ ಡು ವಿ ಡೂ ಅ ಕಂಪ್ಯಾರಿಟಿವ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ? ಯಾಕೆ? Very simple. It is because the constitution that you have, is it derived from Rigveda? Is it derived from Yajurveda? Is it derived from, Mahatma Gandhi's, autobiography? No. It is because the constitution that you have, the constitution, you in the sense we, the constitution that we have is given by a constituent assembly that was formed in India. But these members borrowed some ideas, borrowed few principles from different constitutions of the world, from America, from Britain, from the historical laws that were made in the colonial rule in India. Okay, correct alva? So like this, our constitution is based on that, hence you have to know it. And also sometimes, how can I explain parliamentary form of government without comparing it with America? Nimge arthane agalvalla. To know what is a presidential form of government, you have to compare things. If I talk about France, it is a very different concept. Namge avashyakate illa. Or Germany has a different. The Germany Prime Minister idara. Who's head of Germany? Chancellor. So that is a chancellor democracy. Namge follow madala, so it's not required. So we pick things that are necessary for us to understand. Okay. So still we will stick to America and India only. So what is the one thing that we saw? That there is strict, segregation of, powers that is there in America. In India, it is the coordination. So come to America again. Is there a prime minister in America? Only president, right? There's a president and vice president. Alva, India. In India, we have a PM. And on next page, Gogla, either continuation. In India, we have a prime minister. We also have a president, Alva. We also have a vice president. Anyway, the only job of vice president is to, fill the vacancy of president. Sometimes, death agi, if there is, some medical emergency, that too for some 6 months, he'll be there. That's all. So if you have a dream job in your life, that should be vice president of India. I can again tell, I'm just kidding. Very respectable package. It is around 4 lakhs for a vice president. Okay. So, anyway, that can be a question also. Okay. The package is okay. Anyway, we'll come back. So you have a prime minister in India. You also have a president. Whereas in America, there is only a president. Vice president bidan. What does this? What is the difference? Why this difference?
Head of state, head of the government.
Then America bedwa head of state, head of government. Who? Okay, Angar America bedwa yaru. So one more difference with respect to your parliamentary form of government and a presidential form of government is he is a nominal head. And prime minister is the real head. So who's the head of your family? Who's the head of your family? Your father. He's the nominal head. Real it is your mother. All the decisions are taken by her, jokingly. Anyway, so in a parliamentary form of government, you have a nominal head and a real head. So what do you mean by a nominal head? All the decisions that are taken, by the government of India is under his name, is under his seal. Okay, but the actual decision is taken by the Prime Minister of India, who heads the Council of Ministers. Other Council of Ministers, Prime Minister is the head of it. He takes the decision. He communicates it to President. President will sign this. Idella, while we are doing, while we start the actual syllabus, this is also part of your syllabus only. When we start tomorrow, you'll come to know what are the articles related to it. What is a parliament? All these procedures you'll come to know. But understand what is this. So we call him as the real head. We call him as the nominal head. Sometimes this person or the president is also called as a de jure head. De jure means according to law. Okay, whereas the prime minister is a de facto head. And actually, prime minister is the head. According to the law, president is the head, but in real, it is the prime minister. So one more thing or one more difference is that there is a nominal head and there is a real head in the parliamentary form of government. This kind of system cannot be found in the presidential form of government. Okay. So whom do we elect as the prime minister? Actually, prime minister is not elected. Prime minister is appointed by the president of India. But whom does the president appoint? Why didn't he appoint Rahul Gandhi as the prime minister? Why did not he appoint someone else? Yes, very good. Because in a parliamentary form of government, you have a majority party rule. America election procedure there are direct electors. There is a direct election that is there. So one more aspect of a parliamentary form of government is there is a majority party rule. Okay. Now one more question. We have a parliament, right? So let us say there is Trump and there are ministers under him. So president is there. There are ministers. ನೀವು ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಪೇಪರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ recently, Trump is a crazy guy. Anyway, he created something called as Doge or something, DOGE. ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ನೀವು ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಫಿಷಿಯನ್ಸಿ ಅಂತ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಏನೋ. ದ ಹೆಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಎಲನ್ ಮಸ್ಕ್. Is Elon Musk a MP or I mean, in the sense MP of America? No. So in India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has to make some person, let us say, a head of a ISRO as the Minister of Science and Technology Department. Sumne ankodanu. Can he make? Or a finance ministry, some business person or an economist. Can he do it? Not possible. Why? Because in India, or in a parliamentary form of government, they should be a member of parliament. So, in order to be in the executive, you should be there in the legislature. This is not required in, a presidential form of government. Okay. I will say, let us say, in America, there is a legislature, right? They make a law. But the Trump does not like it, or president does not like it. What happens now? Sorry? They can change it? They can change? He can veto it. He can reject it. Even the Indian president has the power of veto, but our constitutional provisions make sure that all his decisions are the decision of the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. So which form do you think is better, president or in a parliamentary form of government? Parliamentary form of government? Yes. Then now my question again. I want to make a scientist as a minister here. I want to make an economist as a minister here. What he should do? We cannot make him directly, no? He should be elected. So in a parliamentary form of government, we see elections have a huge role, or membership in the legislature has a huge role, but that is not there in a presidential form of government. So that is why parliamentary form of government is sometimes criticized as an amateur form of government. This is sometimes referred to as government of experts or whatever it is. Okay, but there is a lack of accountability. There is no doubt about it. Okay, they also call it as spoils system anta. ಏನು spoils system ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, the president can make appointments ಯಾರನ್ನ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಮಾಡಬಹುದಲ್ವಾ, ಅವನಿಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಬಂದವ್ರನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. So there is a disadvantage there as well. Okay, anyway, so in a parliamentary form of government, the basic things that we saw was that the legislature and the executive should be coordinating with each other. Now let us say the parliament does not like Narendra Modi. Don't take it in reality. Sumne numbers anta ankolana. BJP and itara, don't take it in a strict way. Let us say the MPs don't like the prime minister. What can they do? Change the party, and that is called as defections. It is a very great loophole of parliamentary form of government. We'll talk about it later. So nanige, we are MPs, we are 543 MPs. We want a different prime minister within the 5-year span. Very good. That is called as a no confidence motion. So basically, adella beda amele nodana. But basically, the parliament has the power to bring down the prime minister or bring down the executive. Artha agtideya? Such a system exists here? No. In a presidential form of government, there is a guaranteed tenure. How many years? America dalli 4 years. Maximum a person can be a president in America for how many years? Actually 10 now. But anyway, that's a technical loophole. In reality is 8. Generally ಏನು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾರೋ ಒಬ್ರು ಸತ್ತೋದ್ರೆ the vice president becomes the president. So 2 years alagbodu. It's a technical thing. But 2 terms, 8 years is the maximum thing. But that is a security of tenure that is there. What is the tenure of a prime minister of India? 5 years. 5 years? 5 years? No. ಇವಾಗ ನೀವೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ, ನಂಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ತೆಗಿಬೋದಲ್ವಾ? In a parliamentary form of government or the prime minister of India enjoys the power until he enjoys the majority in the parliament. So Jawaharlal Nehru ಎಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಷ prime minister ಆಗಿದ್ರು? 16 or 17 years. Indira Gandhi also more than 15 years. Narendra Modi around 12 years. So basically, they're enjoying the majority in the parliament. Allivargu. Parliamentary form of government, there is no security of tenure. Until and they enjoy majority, the executive will be in the power. But here it's not like that. You cannot remove him only, first of all. There is a procedure of impeachment. Avrena tappu ಮಾಡಿ unconstitutional ಆಗಿ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ criminal activity ಅಲ್ಲಿ involve ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ there is a procedure. But apart from impeachment, you cannot remove the prime minister. The president in America. So basically, this is the difference between the parliamentary form of government and presidential form of government. Artha aita? Now you tell me which form of government you want. Huh? Parliamentary. Why? Huh? Why parliamentary? Tell me the reasons. Because it is more accountable, sir. Because the Prime Minister or the Council of Ministers can be recalled back. But do you think really it can be done? No. The disadvantage of the parliamentary form of government here is it has pushed the political system in the parliamentary form of governments into, very a competitive, muscular elections way. Arthakti, what I'm trying to say? You told me defections. You can only see it in a parliamentary form of government. Why? Defections ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದು? ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ Karnataka example you take in 2019, Kumaraswamy or some nonsense was happening in Karnataka. No, Congress from Congress party, some 10 to 12 people came to BJP. Correct? Yake? It is because they did not have majority in the parliament, so they defected. So one of the loopholes of the parliamentary form of government is here we give more priority to elections. ನೀವು ಎಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಪ್ರಯಾರಿಟಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಯಾವಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ನೀವೊಂದು ಎಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ನೋಡಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಊರುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗೋ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡೆಲ್ ಕೋಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟ್ ಜಾರಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ ತಗೊಳಂಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದು ಕೆಲಸ ಆಗಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಅಂಡ್ it is the rule. That is why by people criticize it as a rule of amateurs ಅಂತ ಇರ್ಬೋದೇನೋ. Maybe that is the reason. So in a parliamentary form of government, the priority is given only to elections. The priority is given to party membership. The priority is given to party ideologies. Are you understanding? So these are some of the loopholes of parliamentary form of government. Correct alva? And it is very difficult to bring in experts to the government, which is they have to be elected only, then come to power. So this is a great disadvantage here. Okay, we'll write down completely about only points ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇದ್ರೆ ಬರ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ ನೋಡಿ, ಇವ್ರು ಅಂಕ ಕೇಳಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಶಿ ಇಸ್ ಯಾನಿಂಗ್. Okay, anyway, where did you stop? I'm sorry. ಅಲ್ಲ, ಏನ್ ಸೆಂಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಏನೋ ಬರ್ಸದ್ನ? In a parliamentary form of government, there is coordination. ಆ ತರ ಏನೋ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? Right. Features of parliamentary democracy. First point, you all know, please write down. The legislature, or okay, sorry, wait, scratch it. There is coordination between legislature and the executive. What else? Majority party rule. A majority party rule. Okay, online students, I'm sorry, I didn't see your answers. A majority party rule. Third, in a parliamentary form of government, legislature holds executive accountable. Challenges. ಅಂಡ್ ಡೋಂಟ್ ವರಿ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಇದರಲ್ಲೂ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಆಯ್ತಾ? Challenges. First one. What is the first challenge of parliamentary form of government? See how difficult it is to put it in words. Hey, what is the biggest challenge of a parliamentary form of government? Sorry? That is with respect to democracy. Yes, I agree. But that can be there in a presidential form of government also. Law ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇವನು ವೀಟೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಟ್ರಂಪ್. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಲೆಜಿಸ್ಲೇಚರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ರೂಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. What are the two parties in presidential form of government? I mean, in America. Let us say, Republican party, ಯಾರು ಟ್ರಂಪ್, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಡೆಮೊಕ್ರೆಟಿಕ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಅಂತ ಇದೆ. Let us say in the legislature they are in power and this person has come to power in the presidential. ಅವಾಗ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. Then write down. It is the rule of amateurs or there are high chances of unqualified legislators. That is electable members are given priority. Electable members are given priority over qualified members. This can lead to defections and unstable governments. Aita? Governments. Presidential form of government. A presidential form of government. So what is the first feature which you have already written? You write it again. That is segregation between yes, legislature and the executive. Next point. President can veto bills. President can veto the bills. Third, President has a security of tenure. President has a security of tenure. There is bracket only, there is no vote, vote of no confidence. Write down. Last sentence. It can lead to efficiency in administration. And also stability in governance. Which lacks in the parliamentary form of government. Okay. What are the disadvantages then? That is the last thing you have to write. Disadvantages. What is it? I told you already. Legislature ಮಾಡಿರೋ ಲಾನ president veto ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, which can lead to more deadlocks. Okay, wait, don't write. It can lead to many deadlocks. Do you think the president can be accountable? I told you something called a spoil system. So the political executive in a presidential form of government is least accountable. Okay, he becomes a despotic ruler there. Okay, prime minister decision ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ no confidence motion ತೆಗೆದು ಇಳಿಸ್ಬಿಡ್ಬೋದಲ್ವಾ, which if you don't like, there is no confidence motion. That's not there in presidential form of government. So he is least accountable. Okay, can we write down disadvantages or something like that? The presidential form of government. Varun is saying that there is velocity of decisions. Because of Trump, I think, you're feeling it, maybe. ಏನಂತ ಬರೆದ್ರಿ? The political executive is less responsible. There can be deadlocks between the executive and legislature. There can be deadlocks between legislature and executive, and it also provides sweeping powers. To the president. ಆಯ್ತಾ? That's all. ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಯಚೂರು ಹುಡುಗ ಏನೋ ಡೌಟ್ ಇತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಹೇಳಪ್ಪ. ಅವಾಗೇನೋ ಕೇಳ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ, ಹೇಳು. ಏನು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ? ವೆಯ್ಟೇಜ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ ಅಂತಲ್ವಾ? See, basically you'll be having how many questions in prelims in paper 1? How many? 100. There are around average 15 questions from Indian Polity. So you can understand the weightage there, around 30 marks. So subjects like polity, history, geography and economy, ಯಾಕೆ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, current affairs obviously yes, there is no doubt. But why we give more importance to these subjects is because there are average of 10 to 15 questions from each of these subjects that are there, which will help you, in clearing the cutoff. So I obviously say the current affairs definitely yes, but these core subjects, idralli polity is one of the important subjects. Okay, so how to study or how to weightage ನೀವು ಕೇಳ್ತೀರಾ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, if you are looking at the previous year questions, you'll come to know that your basic concepts should be clear. ನಾವೇನು ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಲ್ವ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ, ಮತ್ತೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೇನು ಬುಕ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೀವರಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಟು ದಟ್ ಒನ್ ರಿಸೋರ್ಸ್, ಅದನ್ನೇ 10 ಸರಿ ರಿವೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಫುಲ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಟಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ ಲೇಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಟ್ರೆಂಡ್, ನಿಮಗೆ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಬರ್ತಿದೆ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ. ಅಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಟ್, there are some questions that are related to current affairs also. ಯಾವ ತರ? ಇವಾಗ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ನೀವು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ 6 months ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ, ಗವರ್ನರ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನ್ ನ್ಯೂಸ್. ಗವರ್ನರ್ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನ್ ನ್ಯೂಸ್. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ತಮಿಳುನಾಡು ಅಲ್ಲಿ some issue happened between the government and governor, that is in news. Nenne, I think yesterday, Amit Shah laid a foundation for cooperatives university. Cooperatives is in your constitution. There is high chance that ನೀವು ಫಂಡಮೆಂಟಲ್ ರೈಟ್ಸ್ ಓದಷ್ಟು, ಫಂಡಮೆಂಟಲ್ ಡ್ಯೂಟೀಸ್ ಓದಷ್ಟು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಇವಾಗ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಬಂತು. ಯಾಕೆ? ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನ್ ನ್ಯೂಸ್. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆಯಾ? ಪಾಲಿಟಿ ಯಾವ ತರ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಆರ್ ಎನಿ ಅದರ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್, ಇಫ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನ್ ನ್ಯೂಸ್, read everything about it, through which amendment it was added, what is articles related to it. ಈ ತರ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ಯು ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್. ನಾಳೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದೇನೋ ಪ್ರೆಸಿಡೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ. ದ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರೆಸಿಡೆಂಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ನ್ಯೂಸ್. ಮಣಿಪುರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಮರ್ಜೆನ್ಸಿ ಪ್ರೆಸಿಡೆಂಟ್ ರೂಲ್ ನಡೀತಿದೆ. ಸೊ ದರ್ ಆರ್ ಹೈ ಚಾನ್ಸಸ್ ದಟ್ ಎಮರ್ಜೆನ್ಸಿ ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ನೀವು ಕೋರ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಓದ್ಲೇಬೇಕು, ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಡೌಟ್. ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಅಪ್ಡೇಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗಿ. ನಾಟ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ದ ನ್ಯೂಸ್. ಇವಾಗ ಎಮರ್ಜೆನ್ಸಿ ಆಗಿದೆ ಮಣಿಪುರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಎಮರ್ಜೆನ್ಸಿ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್. ಇವಾಗ ಗವರ್ನರ್ ಏನೋ ಇಶ್ಯೂ ನಡೀತಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಯಾವ ಆರ್ಟಿಕಲ್, ಅವ್ರದ್ದೇನು, ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ಇಸ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್, ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ಇಸ್ ರೋಲ್ಸ್, ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕಮ್. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆಯಾ? ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೌ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಯು ಸ್ಟಡಿ. ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ವಿಲ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಗೋ. ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಸಮ್ current issues that are happening. Aita? Anyway, what is a constitution? What is a constitution? Rules. Okay. So constitution only has rules in it? Then So anyway, from tomorrow, what we will be doing is only reading this constitution only and nothing else. Starting from how we made it and from 1 to last. Correct, Alva? We'll be doing that. But what is a constitution? In general, what is a constitution? Let us say there is a corporate office. That office also can have a constitution. There is a North Korea, there is a Iran, even they can have a constitution. There is India, there is France, there is Britain, there is USA, all democracies. There is a constitution. There is a China, they can have a constitution. Correct, Alva? Then what is a constitution? Varun and all others can answer. Constitution is the law of the land. Samran, good. What else? Of citizens, I thought. Naveen, Alva? Heli Naveen. Sorry? It's a written document that should be followed. By whom? No? Do you follow the constitution? All of you are following constitution? You're following? I don't think so. You're not following a constitution. You're following your own religion. You're following your own social customs. You're following what your parents are telling. Correct, Alva? You're enjoying the rights that are given by constitution. Understand the core what I'm trying to say. You told me something. It's a document. Continue that statement. Okay. Which the government has to follow. But Indian constitution is an exception. There is a fundamental duty there. So constitution basically restricts the government, not us. Constitution gives us rights to do something. You have a right to marry anyone you want, no? Yes or no? You have the right to talk whatever you want. Andre, whatever you want, you cannot go scold a prime minister, you can criticize him. So you have a freedom of speech and expression. Correct, Alva? You can follow any religion you want. Correct, Alva? So these are the things that are provided to you by the constitution. You are enjoying the rights. But the constitution is restricting the government, saying that you cannot deny your rights on a citizen. You cannot be partial to one and partial to the other. You have to conduct elections within 5 years. You have to elect a president. There should be a vice president. There should be a prime minister. There should be a council of ministers. Anta, the constitution has set these fundamentals for the governance to happen. What are those? ಅದು ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಓಕೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆ ಇದೆ, ನನ್ನ ಮನೆ. ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಒಳಗ್ ಬಿಡಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ. ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? So that is also with respect to a public place. That is with respect to a government office. ನಾನ್ ನಾಳೆ ಒಂದು IAS ಆಫೀಸರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಬರ್ಬೇಡ, ನೀನು ಬೇರೆ ಜಾತಿಗೆ ಸೇರಿದ್ಯಾ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ತಪ್ಪು. ನಮ್ಮನೆಯೊಳಗೆ ನಾನು ಏನಾದ್ರು ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ? ನಾನ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. Okay, you shouldn't do also. But what I'm trying to say here is, it is the checks that are there on the government, not on you. Then why is constitution important to you? Because it is protecting your right. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ನಾಳೆ ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ನಿನ್ನನ್ನ don't enter into a temple ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, it is through these constitutional provisions only you can get the law to be executed. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? So there is no functions or anything that is there to you except fundamental duties and one or two other things. Like I told you, temple entry, itaralla. But that is only in the public places. So in general, constitution, as according to Naveen, that is the exactly right thing, is a document, is the law of a particular place, of a particular territory, which directs its government to behave in a certain manner. So basically, constitution is the law. Correct, Alva? Why do we require a constitution? Why do we require a constitution? Sorry? Okay. So there are rights in, if you're from, South Karnataka, we have heard about, Nalvadi Krishnaraj over there, under whose rule also there was better, it was actually better than today's government. Ali ಯಾವ article fundamental rights ಇರಲಿಲ್ವಲ್ಲ. So why do we require a constitution? Okay, so ನಮ್ಮ NCERT ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಇದು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, they have given a story of South Africa. We'll discuss that. ಅವಾಗ we'll understand why we require a constitution ಅಂತ. So they have taken the example of South Africa, under which there were separate laws for whites, for blacks. We all know South Africa ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ವಾ? South Africa ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ whites they have settled there. Like how in India British ruled, even there they ruled, but ಜಾಸ್ತಿ whites they came and settled there. Okay, like A.B.D. Villiers, no? Who is he? So does he look like an African person? A.B.D. Villiers is your favorite, right, in RCB. So he is a person in South Africa, but a white person. So I just gave you an example. There are a big section of the society living there since the colonial times. So until 1990s, they had laws. For example, there is a school separate for blacks, whites. Bus, Europe bere, swimming pool, hotels, ella kade there were restrictions. And also, they were not allowed to vote. They were not allowed to contest elections. There were numerous, hurdles that were there to them. Then later, under Nelson Mandela and African National Congress, there was a revolution that happened. After which they created a constitution which was equal for all. Which was equal for all. So it did not discriminate the whites also. It did not discriminate the blacks also. So basically, now you tell me why we require a constitution. Even India has an experience of 200 years of a foreign rule, a colonial rule. In that aspect, if you're looking at it, why do you require a constitution? So basically, now we will not discuss about the articles, don't worry. We will discuss about the constitutional and the constitutional values or the principles of our constitution. So in this aspect, tell me, why do you require a constitution? Okay. See, not just too selfish here, no? I'm just kidding. Yeah, good then. That is the basic, I think, African story. So basically, why do you require a constitution is because that is a common set of law which defines your relationship between each other. All of you are Indian citizens. You have the same kind of protection. You have the same kind of laws that are there. Correct, alva? So, constitution is a common thing or a common law that is there to every aspect of people. So, it is defining your relationship between you and the government, between all of us. So, that is why we require a constitution. So, let us talk about our Indian constitution. How was it made? What are the principles behind it? In India, see, India has one of the best constitutions in the world. How do we know? It's because there are many new governments like, sorry, okay. So, we have one of the best constitutions. How do we know? You look at Sri Lanka, you look at Nepal, they're all young democracies like us. They all are new democracies like us. Attu sari change agida for constitutions. Pakistan, you look at Pakistan, you look at Myanmar, look at Bangladesh. Now look at all these, countries. Why we have to compare with them is because we all became a democracy at similar point of time. Correct, alva? So when you're comparing these countries, in fact, you can compare with America itself. There is there's no question about it. We have one of the best constitutions. Okay, so the Indian Constitution, how was it made? What are the core principles behind this? Okay, we'll just see. Narendra Modi went to this country, recently. Which was it? Ghana and Fiji and Trinidad and Tobago. So when he went to one of these countries, I think Ghana, There, he quoted a Rigvedic shloka. You Google ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡಿ, I don't know, it is Sanskrit. ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ. There he spoke about, in English ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, it is a Sanskritic Rigvedic text. Modi ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು 2-3 days back. The idea behind that is, let all the good ideas come to us from wherever it is. So I feel, our Indian constitution is also, is also based on, such a kind of principle. Here in this country, we have hundreds of languages, thousands of castes, 10s and 20 religions, a lot of diversity, but one constitution. Right? The rule of Britain for, more than around 200 years. Yes. In such a country, enforcing one constitution is the mightiest task, I think, that can ever be there. Sri Lanka is not even 1/10 of us. They are facing problems. Nepal is not even 1/10 of India. They are facing problems. So imagine, the Indian constitution. So that is why we will be studying the core principles that are there enshrined in the Indian constitution. Your NCERT says, or in generally, the Indian constitution is a written constitution. What do you mean by a written constitution and an unwritten constitution? And ಬರ್ದಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವ್ರು ಬರ್ದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತನಾ? Britain has an unwritten constitution. Does that mean that they have not written it? Is it not printed? What do you mean? What is the difference between the two? No. No. ಅವ್ರು ಬರ್ದಿಲ್ವ ಹಂಗಾದ್ರೆ? ಹೂ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿರತ್ತಾನೆ ಅದು. Okay. What about other Britain then? Basically, ನೀವು ನೋಡ್ತೀರಲ್ವಾ, lengthiest written constitution in the world, biggest constitution in the world. So what do you mean, this basic thing? In India, when the constitution was being made, there was a constituent assembly. ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ? 389 ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ, but India Pakistan divide ಆಗೋಯ್ತು. Some people went that side, so we don't want that. There were around 300 members. What did they do? They took 2 years, 11 months, 18 days to prepare these constitutions. ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು? I think 114 days they met in the Constituent Assembly. Every day they gave ideas. They discussed. 2000 amendments were proposed. ಇದನ್ನ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಅದು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಿ. At the end, the drafting committee chairman was Dr. Ambedkar. He drafted the ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು. So basically, we created it in a Constituent Assembly. Britain's constitution was not created in a Constituent Assembly. It is based on several laws that are existing since 1500s itself. This is the basic difference between a written and unwritten constitution. Anyway, that was not the point which we wanted. We wanted to know the principles behind the Indian constitution. So my question is, ಈ 1946 ಅಲ್ಲಿ Constituent Assembly create ಆಯ್ತಲ್ವಾ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ where the principles that are there in today's constitution is only a direct byproduct of this Constituent Assembly, or something else also? What is that? The biggest influence to anyone in India in 1946 was Mahatma Gandhi. The Gandhian principles. Even Nelson Mandela in Africa was influenced by Mahatma Gandhi itself. So the book, the NCERT talks about, I like this, part. So it talks about the principles behind, the constitution. So it says any person who was there at that point of time would have been influenced by the Gandhian ideas. What is the Gandhian idea of constitution?
Equality.
Very good. So Gandhi spoke about, untouchability. Gandhi spoke about the rights of women. Gandhi spoke about abolishing intoxicants like alcohol, things like this. So basically, Gandhian idea is very moral. it talks about morality. Okay, so Gandhi dreamt of Ramarajya. What is a Ramarajya? A state where people lived with happiness. A state where people lived a dignified life, where there was equality. So, the guiding principles behind the constitution is, there is an influence of Gandhian ideology. Okay. So, there is one more speech of Ambedkar. Okay, I will tell you the sentence. You tell me the explanation. He says, on this 26th day of November 1949, we got this constitution, or 26th January, when we adopted it, enforced it. From 26th January 1950, we will have political equality. This is Ambedkar's sentence. We will have political equality, but it is left to you in order to fulfill social and political equality. What do you mean by this? Social and economic equality, I'm sorry. So political equality is ensured through constitution, but what about social and economic equality? It is left to you. None other guarantee madakagala anta heltare through the constitution. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by this? To understand this, we have to know what is constitutionalism. There is a lot of difference between a constitution and constitutionalism. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by this? Mahatma Gandhi preferred direct actions. 1915 ಇಂದ 1947 ವರೆಗೂ ನೀವು ಗಾಂಧಿನ ನೋಡಿ. ಅವ್ರೇನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು? ದಾಂಡಿ ಮಾರ್ಚ್, ನಾನ್ ಕೋಆಪರೇಷನ್ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್, civil disobedience movement, quit India movement. What are all those things? They are all non-constitutional direct actions. Ambedkar was a critic of this. Why? Ambedkar wanted constitutionalism. So basically, what is constitutionalism? Not simply having constitution, but following it or adopting, it in your daily lives. So constitutionalism is different from having a constitution. So you say that we have a constitution, but you say that I won't marry a Dalit boy. I won't share my plate with a Shudra person. Is it one and the same? So there is a difference between a constitution and constitutionalism. So what Ambedkar means by, having a constitution and guaranteeing political rights and not social and economic rights and tomorrow you don't bring a land law, which means I was reading a recent survey. It says that only around 9% of the cultivable lands is owned by the Dalits in India or the scheduled castes in India. Their population is so big, but they own very small piece of land. Then how come economic equality can be enshrined? Not possible. How can be a social equality that can be guaranteed? Not possible after 75 years of freedom or getting the constitution. Correct, alva? So Ambedkar's principle was constitutionalism. He was worried about what is going to happen. If you are really interested, you can read something called as Grammar of Anarchy Speech. That's not required, but nimage interest idre sumne manege hogi ivattu nodi Grammar of Anarchy Speech anta. It is good. Later we'll talk about Nehru, who made the historic speech of Tryst with Destiny. In the midnight of 14th August 1947, we got our freedom, alva. So there he says that long ago, India made a tryst, an agreement with a colonial power. And, that was our destiny. So we have come until here. So what he tries to say here is the influence of, the colonial, or the colonial hangover that is, they're all, they're on us. So while talking about this constitution, we have to know this history. Aita. And one more thing. There are some direct examples to know that our constitution is just not based on this Constituent Assembly. There are some principles that are having an influence on this. So in 1928, Motilal Nehru drafted a a constitution for India. Okay, kind of simply for an example, for a draft, he had created this. Later in 1931, you history lothira, don't worry. Later in 1931, in the Karachi session also, they adopted a resolution which spoke about how a constitution should be. ಈ ಎರಡರಲ್ಲೂ ನೀವು ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ they have spoken about equality of rights, they have spoken about minority rights, they have spoken about universal adult franchise. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ 1946 ಇಂದ 1949 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಯೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಂಬ್ಲಿ ಏನಿತ್ತು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಸಿನ್ಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ದೆನ್ ಅವರ್ ಕೋರ್ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಬೀನ್ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ವೋಟಿಂಗ್ ರೈಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ಆಲ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ, ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಲ್ ಅಡಲ್ಟ್ ಫ್ರಾಂಚೈಸ್. Are you understanding? Or protecting the minority rights. ಇದು ಬರೀ ಇವಾಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಅಡಾಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ. These principles are there amongst Indians, or especially Indian National Congress, since a very long period of time. The direct examples for this is the 1928 issue and the 1931 Karachi session. One was the draft constitution that was created by Motilal Nehru. So the constitution that we have today is not just a document that was created within 2 years, 11 months. It is a spirit, it is a principle that has an influence of hundreds of years. Aitha, what are those? The colonial past that we have, the inequalities that were existing, the caste, tribals, all these, and influence of Gandhi and Buddha, Bhagavad Gita, all of these things are there in our constitution, or the guiding principles of governance in India. So this is the core principles behind the Indian Constitution. Can you write one small paragraph? Constitution. Varun, Constitution is something like a vague set of rules by which the government governs. It is not vague, Varun. It is not at all vague. Anyway, you write down Constitution or constitutional principles. Anyway. So many of you are online, but only 2 of them are answering. Constitution is a basic set of law. Is a basic set of law that determines the relationship among people living in a territory, and the bracket citizens and the people living in a territory, and also the relationship between the citizens and the government. The Constitution specifies how the government should be constituted, also constituted. Also, it limits on the power of the governments, and tells us what the rights of the citizens are. Okay. Indian Constitution, or making of, just write Indian Constitution. So were you citizens in under the British rule? Were you called a citizen? What is the technical word? People of India were living in India before 1947. No. Who were they? Today we are citizens of India. So who were we in 1930 or 1920? Before 1940? Sorry? Slaves, Allah. Yes, slavery was there, no doubt. But you cannot be called like that. You were the subjects of British Indian rule. You are not a citizen. Nim basis mein ಏನು law ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. There were gradually some laws that were there, I'm not denying, but you were only British subjects. So, that is how people define it. From being subjects to Indian citizens, it is a very hard task to create Indian constitution. Okay. Anyway, write down the Indian constitution. In India, the colonial legacy. In India, the colonial legacy has had an lasting impact. Comma. In 1947, Indians were emerging from the status of subjects to citizens. Subjects to citizens. Moreover, India had also faced a daunting experience, harsh experience of partition. Even before the Constituent Assembly, was created, there were already some guiding principles. That people of India, wanted it to be in their constitution. Example. First one. Draft constitution created by Motilal Nehru in 1928. Okay, next point or a second example. The 1931 Karachi session. Of INC, andre Indian National Congress, also passed a resolution of what the Indian Constitution should be. Third. People like C. Rajagopalachari, M.N. Roy have been talking of a constitution for independent India. So this is before 1947. Aita? And I'm not going to talk about Constituent Assembly because that is a very big chapter. I will separate chapter again. Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, wait. The guiding principles and the Bharadwati you write Gandhi. Adali Gandhi, Ambedkar and Nehru will write, okay? And the guiding principles behind our Indian Constitution. Under that, one is Gandhi. First is Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, not Rahul Gandhi. Okay. Write down. Gandhi had a moral view. Of a state. State is not, you know what is a state, right? We call it as an Indian state. A state is an authority. A moral view of a state. This is reflected through his ideas. Especially his works such as Young India. The Indian freedom movement. That was headed by Gandhi. Was not just a movement for self-rule, but a social revolution as well. Right on, continue. Full stop and in the same paragraph, continue. He took a stand against social evils such as untouchability, rights of women, etc., which can be seen adopted in the Constitution. Okay, full stop. So it is still 10 or 10:30? Okay. Why you want to go to breakfast? Anyway, we'll confirm. I'll ask from tomorrow. If it is possible, we'll do until 10:30 or 10 is also fine. Okay. I'll just check. Okay. Nivena doubts idre keli ivaga. We'll stop for today. Aita. Keli. Yen doubts ide nimge anta. In today's class or in general with respect to polity. Perfect. You're all perfect. Perfect. So can I ask you questions from today's class only? Close your book then. Presidential form of government. It means that, he is unaccountable. He is not restricted by the legislature. He can take decisions, whatever he wants. Okay, anyway. So, how did you feel? Polity is? This is nothing. This was only small, basic introduction. From tomorrow, we'll be starting with the starting with a new chapter or directly starting with Indian Constitution. So probably tomorrow we'll be starting with the historical background of the making of Indian Constitution. So what I suggest you is read NCERT again. Okay. And the book, like everyone suggests that the same book for Lakshmikant, that is a Bible for polity, which is Lakshmikant. Okay, so Lakshmikant is your Bible for Indian polity. So what you have to do is, attend all the classes, try, not to miss the classes. So attend all the classes, revise on the same day, have your own notes. Even though the material is provided, once you go home, make a note of whatever you have studied. Make your own notes. You will have a better, ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್. ಅಂಡ್ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಇದು ಎಲ್ಲದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಇನ್ನೊಂದೇನು ಗೊತ್ತಾ, ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತೀವಿ, ಎಕ್ಸಾಮು 1 ವರ್ಷ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೋ, 6 ತಿಂಗಳಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೋ, 8 ತಿಂಗಳಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ. ಅಟ್ ದಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಟೆಂಡ್ ಟು ಫರ್ಗೆಟ್. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಸಜೆಷನ್ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಗಿವನ್ ಟು ಎವ್ರಿವನ್ ಇಸ್ ಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಟು ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ರಿಸೋರ್ಸಸ್. ನಿಮ್ದು ಒಂದೇ ನೋಟ್ಸ್, ಕ್ಲಾಸು ಅಥವಾ ನಾವೇನ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಆರ್ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀಕಾಂತ್, ವಿಚ್ ಎವರ್ ಯು ಲೈಕ್, ಯು ಮೇಕ್ ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಟ್, ರಿವೈಸ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ 10 times. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಬುಕ್ ಓದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು. Revise the same thing, but keep on looking at the previous year questions. Stick to the syllabus. Ishte ನೀವು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋದು, nothing else. Same syllabus will be there, same notes, revise that for 10 times, nothing else. ಇದೇ ಕನ್ವೆನ್ಷನಲ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಫಾಲೋ. ಇದೇನೋ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾರ್ಡಿನರಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಏನಿಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿ, ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಟು ದಿಸ್ ಕನ್ವೆನ್ಷನಲ್ ಆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ವಿಲ್ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಪಾಲಿಟಿ ದಿಸ್ ಮಂತ್ or maximum by the first week of next month. Okay, so we'll meet tomorrow. Bye. Yeah, please.
So actually, when we were talking about parliamentary democracy, we are a bit like USA and the appointment ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ. So ನಮ್ಮ actually nominal ಅಂತ 8 members ಅಂತ select ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. Like in place of art, science and technology.
Entala. So what you're trying to say is we nominate people, like how we have nominated Sudha Murthy into Rajya Sabha. But the numbers are very less, and they're nominated. Huh? 8? Okay. ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ 8 ಅಂತ ಇಲ್ಲ, ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ನೀವೇನೋ ಬೇರೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ. Anyway, don't worry, we'll do we nominate people. From Karnataka, we have nominated Sudha Murthy. There is no doubt. We had nominated Sachin Tendulkar. We had nominated, many other personalities. So there is the governor and president has the power to nominate people from the field of literature, art, or science and technology. We can nominate. There is no doubt about it. What we generally see is it does not happen in a wider manner. How many? So who is the environment minister in India today having a PhD in environment, or does he have an experience? No. Or a finance minister? Okay, Nirmala Sitharaman ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಂಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. Okay, or or anyone else. I'm not telling that education will lead you to a better person. So in a presidential form of government, that is possible. Here it is not possible. Here election is given more priority. There it is not given. That's the difference. Okay, you can pick anyone and make them as a minister. Here you can't do that. That person also should get a election. He should come to Lok Sabha. Only then he can. So what we have to understand is not that. What we have to understand is, in a parliamentary form of government, in order to be in the executive, you should take a membership in legislature. That is the concept behind it. Okay, so we'll meet tomorrow.